to Respond live from our bureau in Washington, D.C. is Kellyanne Conway, counselor to the president. Kellyanne, thank you for being here today. So did the president watch this testimony live today?
So today at the White House was business as usual. The president hosted his usual array of meetings. He had the White House Infrastructure Summit. I and a couple other senior staffers accompanied him to the Faith and Freedom Conference, where he received multiple standing ovations for standing up for religious liberty, for even talking about withdrawal from the Paris Accord. He's aware of the testimony. He had a lot of meetings this morning with his national security team, Secretaries Mattis and Tillerson, General McMaster. Also attended a couple of private policy meetings. So he, of course, every single day is doing something at that White House to move his agenda forward. And today was no different. I do want to make the case to everyone that whereas Washington said it was just going to shut down, literally people took the day off from work to watch this, the president did not. He worked for the American people. On infrastructure, he has committed at least $200 million and probably upwards of $1 trillion for these public-private partnerships to restore our crumbling bridges and roads, and also to make a more modern, better run, more accessible, less hassle, more hassle-free, I should say, airline system, that people will spend less time on the tarmac, will have a safer, more assured system. That affects all travelers, and in fact, that's a nonpartisan issue. It would be great to have some bipartisan support on things like infrastructure.
So, just to get back to his reaction to all of this, though, and I understand that business went ahead as usual. He had a lot of meetings today, and he wants very much to keep the agenda moving forward, is doing everything they can to do that. Nonetheless, this testimony was significant today. What was his response to the things that he did hear from it, or the pieces of it that he did see?
Well, at the White House, we've been referring everyone, Martha, to his private lawyer, Mark Kasowitz. And today, I'm happy to report, I can actually refer you to Mark Kasowitz, the president's private lawyer's statement. And you ran some of it then. Yeah. I really would tell the public, if you want to see the full statement from Mark Kasowitz, go ahead and pull it up. It's on, I'm sure you can access it publicly, if not through the White House website. And it's an important statement because it reflects, the president's opinion reflects his lawyer's characterization of this particular testimony. But I think it's important because, you know, if this were like a classic legal case, you'd have one side go and then the other side go. That's not how congressional testimony works. The other side does not respond, and so it's very important that Mark Kasowitz responded instead.
When he did respond, he responded to two very specific things. He said the president never said, you know, I hope we can get past this with regard to the Comey testimony. And he also said that the president never asked Jim Comey for a pledge of loyalty. So now you have a situation where Jim Comey says he wrote all these copious notes. He's declared what he says happened in the room. We heard Mark Kasowitz, the statement that you referred to, saying what the president's recollection of all of that was. So, you know, today we heard Jim Comey say, Lordy, I hope there are tapes. So are there tapes of these discussions of the president and Jim Comey?
I can't comment on that, but I would really, everybody is going to look at Jim Comey's testimony, should also look at Mark Kasowitz's statement. I think that's important in this case. The other thing I would just mention is that
why can't you comment on whether or not there are tapes?
Because I can't comment. I work in the White House.
But if there are no tapes, then wouldn't you just say there are no tapes?
I can't comment on that. And actually, the president himself has said he won't comment any further on that.
All right. In terms of the agenda, you know, given everything that's going on with this testimony that we saw today, what's the White House's plan in terms of, you know, the next few weeks? Because obviously you'd love to head into the 4th of July with other things to point to and say, you know, we're getting somewhere in health care in the Senate. Yes. What's your plan for the next few weeks?
Sure. Thanks for asking, Martha, because, you know, my main grievance is not just biased media coverage. I think that's easy for Americans to see when they want to find it. We're seeing a lot of it in the last couple of days. In fact, my grievance is always incomplete coverage. So thanks for at least giving us a platform to talk about all the other issues that have real people impact.
The American people do care about all of these things.
Absolutely, and it impacts them.
And a lot of them are frustrated with the lack of, you know, things that they can actually look at as achievements so far from the White House. So what can they expect?
Pardon me. So yesterday the president went to Cincinnati, Ohio, and he had around him people who are actual victims of Obamacare, reminding us why it's so important to get rid of this plan that did not help all Americans. It said it would help. And you see those Obamacare victims, you realize the importance of having increased quality, increased access, lower prices. some people had the worst possible outcome when it came to Obamacare. They had this health insurance card that they literally could not use because the premiums were so high they couldn't afford to use it. And so health care is moving apace in the Senate. Leader McConnell and his team feel very confident that they will be able to get a vote sometime soon, and that package is moving forward.
Sometime soon, meaning I know he met with leadership the other day at the White House, so sometime over the course of the summer you expect legislation.
Could be the summer before the August recess. But, you know, we've been living with Obamacare for a very long time, 7 years, and it takes a long time to turn a sinking battleship. But that aside, this is still infrastructure and jobs month, so the president will continue to go on the road and take his case directly to the people, continue to announce special projects. Just today he met with governors, municipal leaders like mayors, and also tribal leaders, trying to institute this public-private partnership for infrastructure. Why? Because if you just move the money from the federal government to the state government, you're just moving the funding source. What he's trying to do is spur that innovation and that investment closer to home, so that, say, just hypothetically, the federal government provides 20% of the funding, you're encouraging to get the other 80% through that private piece. And you're encouraging those mayors and those governors and those tribal leaders, Martha, who are closer to those who will invest the money, who will create the jobs, who will execute and complete the projects. It's very exciting, actually. This was called stimulus under President Obama. A fraction, I've read, 10% of the money actually made it to infrastructure. The rest just goes in these big black hole programs in Washington, D.C. that don't really fix those roads and bridges, don't build things. We don't build things anymore. And he and Secretary Elaine Chao tomorrow, Secretary of Transportation Elaine Chao tomorrow, will have a big roads and rails recovery infrastructure announcement at the Department of Transportation. People should really tune in to listen to that because it affects every single person in this country as they try to move from point A to point B in a more seamless, safer way.
Before I let you go, the president said today that he's under siege. What has he told all of you at the White House in terms of how to deal with what is simply not going away anytime soon?
Well, we're dealing with the agenda. I mean, I'm just one person there, and I was in 6 different policy meetings today, including a few with him and a few with the vice president. So we're just plodding forward, and in addition, the other items are the budget, spending, and certainly tax reform. You've heard Secretaries Mnuchin and Ross and Director Cohn. They've put the principles out there. By law, the Senate has to score through the CBO its plan before you go forward, the health care plan before you go forward, tax plan this calendar year, possibly after the August recess. I don't think the calendar is as important as the principles that are laid out. And
so
we as a nation,
not so much an inspirational message from him to you guys, but just keep on your work.
But he knows we don't need inspiration because nobody there is what the reports say we are, which is downtrodden, staff shakeup. Where is that? We've been hearing this for 4.5 months. It's completely ridiculous. The president continues to move forward with his team every single day on behalf of the American people I know are watching. And very importantly, everybody who is supposed to be allegedly in the doghouse still works in the White House. And I want everybody to really focus on that.
Including Jeff Sessions, who I hear is not going anywhere anytime soon, right?
And the president has confidence in people who work for him. And it's very simple. Just as everybody around here assumes that their bosses have confidence in them because they're working here. But I also just wanted to mention that we as a country every year spend about 7 billion hours and $250 billion complying with the tax code. That just has to stop. We have to simplify it and modernize it and make it fair to small business owners and unleash that investment. He's also doing a lot on energy. So it's just a very exciting time if people would focus beyond the silly, unfounded gossip and who's testifying on which day and really focus on the real people impact.
Kellyanne, thank you for coming up to the rooftop with us. Good to see you tonight. Have a good night. Thank you.